Okay, here I am with this demo. Hopefully going to finish it off in this 15-minute demo. This is the third one for the shape compositions. Just pointing out a few things. So I'm trying to get this kind of free-form tentacle-y looking thing. Remember that when you have your objects, you get to drag them, the layers, into the order you want. So it can sometimes be tricky to place them right. And if I need to, I can use what's called the auto select function of the move tool to select certain layers. So if I want to find a certain shape, like this shape, by having auto select on, just by clicking on the shape, it will go to that layer. Or this shape. Or this shape. And if I want to move a layer up, I can just click and drag it up, like so, but I could also use command right bracket to move it up through the layers, and command left bracket to move it down through the layers. So this piece, I need to have it kind of on top, but then I'm going to need to do something with that bottom part, so I'll cover it up with another shape. Let's pick a color. It's going to be more purplish. I'll warp it, squeeze it in. So remember, you can make your image from multiple shapes overlapped, just like you were cutting it out of paper. And don't worry about trying to be too faithful. Just an exercise, not trying to get an exact copy. All right. Then maybe I'll do one little shape that's that deeper red. Right in the center here. Now the other advantage of having the window open in Photoshop is just like I can steal colors from this Photoshop file, I can also steal them from my mini Photoshop file. So that can be especially helpful. You can't do it from Preview though, because Preview's not in Photoshop. Now using the auto select, I can also make duplicates of any layer I want, and then just use the command brackets to bring things up or down in different layers. So if I want this to come up, just do that, and I just double click, and I can get a different color on it. And then I can transform and warp and make it whatever I want. Make this look a little bit more lopsided, cabbagey. Hit return. Yeah, so we're getting there. So now the background. Oh, I guess I can do this arc too. So let's see. So remember, to get an outline shape, I'm going to go to Custom Shapes and use one of these. This is for a hard-edged outline. This one's for a soft-edged outline. You can even do a circular outline. So for here, I might use this circular outline shape. Draw it nice and big like that. Steal the color. It's very soft. Well, it's kind of darker up there. It's a jump rope. Maybe something more like that. And then when I transform it, kind of stretch it down. And in. And up. And then I need to squeeze it just enough so it intersects with what looked like ears. Okay. Hit return, and then I can move it down in the layers using Command left bracket until it's behind everything I need it to be behind. Okay, so lastly we have the background, because if I turn off now all my background layers, it's looking pretty good, but it's not quite this yet. It doesn't have that kind of yellow greenish background. So what I'm going to do is make a shape layer right on top of that background, fill the whole thing. So I'll just use a rectangle, or even actually a rounded ellipse would be perfect because it's got dark corners. Let's see, did I choose rounded ellipse? I did. It's just not very rounded. So I can decide how much I want it to round here. This is more specialized, but let's try 80 pixels, see how that works. You see that's definitely more rounded at the corners. I got to pick a color for it. So I'm going to pick from my Photoshop file that color. But then I'm also going to do what's called a background color. So first I pick that color. But when I fill it, let's see, I'm going to fill with a different kind of property. I'm going to fill this time with a gradation instead. And with that gradation, I get to choose the colors. It's a little technical and you're not required to try it, but if you want to try it, you can. So I can move between one and many others, however many I want to stipulate here. And you'll see how it goes kind of from light to dark, and I can actually move that light in, and I can make additional ones, put it on the other side. Huh. Let's see. There we go. Maybe something kind of like that. Or maybe a little bit brighter there. And I can get that kind of softness even though it's a vector shape. And then I need some sort of weird kind of greenish dark around it, so I'm going to do another big shape, just a regular rectangle tool. It's big across the whole thing, and fill that with a gradation that's kind of messier. I can even pick from some of the ones they have. So maybe that's a good start, but I'll move it behind. And then I'm going to alter that gradation by swapping out the colors for what I want. Like the greens, the blues, the weird browns, light greens, and then what can I swap that orange for? The dark gray. And I can even change the angle of it if I want those colors to show up in a slightly different way. Reverse it, and that looks about right to me. And now, these are all vectors. I can turn off all of my background layers, none of them are showing anymore. And I can now, if I want to, even play with the opacity of them against each other. So this big pink shape, maybe I just don't want that to be so opaque. So I'm going to use my move tool with auto select on to select it, and then I'll just move its opacity down a little bit. And then the blue shape under that, I might move that opacity down just a little bit. I might take the opacity down a little bit on all of these because it's kind of a watercolory image. I'll play with that. These are all the fun things we can do. Remember, I'm trying to suggest this image just with shapes. just the shape tool and transform and move tool. And ultimately, as an exercise should do, it's just meant to give you lots of practice. These different skills. And if I'm going to show you something really exciting, if you double click on those shape layers, you can also give them things like outlines and shadows. Because everything's soft here, I'm going to do an outer glow, but I'll make it dark. And you can play with these different things, and I can extend it and spread it out. Into the other layers to kind of show that, and I can play with its opacity. There's so many different things you can do just with shape tools. And the other one I might want to do that for is this little center of this tentacle thing. Take its opacity down a little bit, but then let's give it some, do an inner glow this time, but change the color. I don't want a gradation. Let's do it like this. There we go. So many ways we can play with these different shapes. And if I want to do a gradation on an individual shape, like let's say this middle one, maybe I don't want a linear gradation, maybe I want what's called a radial gradation. So let's see. If I double click it, I can do a gradient overlay on it and do it as a screen overlay. And then instead of it being a linear gradation, I can make it radial, which means it comes out from the center, and then just reverse it so it's lighter at the middle. Play with its opacity. And get a fairly interesting image. These feel like they need to be up a little. Actually, no, it looks like instead this needs to be moved down behind it. There we go. And then maybe these will have a soft bluish glow to them. So I'll do an outer glow, but make that blue. Change that to a multiply mode so we can see it. Spread it out. And then do the same thing to the other leg. So as you can see, there's really no end to how much you can play with these things. And you really just learn by experimenting and being willing to mess up. They seem to have little painted toenails, so I'm going to actually just steal what I've already designed here with all those overlay effects. Just make them like little petal